I want to say good afternoon to everybody and welcome to the West Contra Costa Unified School District and West County League of Women Voters Candidates Forum. Today we will experience several firsts. The first at-large to trustee area elections, the first West Contra Costa Unified School District Candidates Forum on Zoom, our Zoom webinar, and the first time for me as a forum moderator. So I am Linda Whitmore, and I am a member of the League of Women Voters. Let's see, we have candidates running for 4 trustee areas. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an introduction. They'll be asked 10 questions and given 1 minute to respond and 2 minutes for a closing summary. There'll be a clock on the screen that the candidates can see. We're asking all of you to please respect the time allocated. Hanovia Calloway, I don't see her. Can you come on visually, Hanovia, so they can see who you are? Hanovia Calloway, where is she? There she is. There she is a member of our league, and we ask that each member of our league, and she's responsible for the Zoom attendees and panelists. The Zoom forum technical operator and timekeeper is Bobby Jordan. Bobby is the district communications manager. Now it's time to start the first forum for trustee area 4. We have 2 members of the League of Women Voters who will be asking the questions to these 3 candidates. And they are Myrtle Braxton. Can you wave, Myrtle, so see who you are? There she is. And the West County president of the League of Women Voters, Cheryl Collier, will be asking questions. Cheryl, can you wave? There she is. The candidates are, and if I mispronounce your names, just let me know and we'll go back and do it again, okay? Ianad Burrell, Demetrio Gonzalez Hoy, and Matthew Trujillo.
Perfect.
Okay, very good. I want all of you to pay close attention to these candidates and their answers because on November 3rd, you will vote for another first. You will elect the first West Contra Costa Unified School District Board of Trustee for Area 4. So I wanted to say a few more things and we're going to start. This webinar will be available on the district Facebook page, on the League of Women Voters Facebook page, and on the district's website. And we are having Spanish translation during this webinar, so it's available for those who need Spanish translation during the webinar. Last thing before we start is that we are not accepting any open questions on our chat for this webinar. We, in our publicity, did say we wanted advanced questions, which we received up until Friday at 12 noon. And then the League of Women got together with all of the questions and selected 10 questions from those that were contributed for this forum. So we're not going to accept questions on the chat because we have our time scheduled for an hour. So we all will have exactly 10 questions. So now I'm going to turn the forum over to our candidates and to our 2 league assistants who will be asking the questions. And the first question will be asked by Cheryl Collier. Okay, it's all yours. Let's begin.
Okay, good afternoon. We'll start with Inaj, and the question is, how will you address the budget issue?
Thank you. Before answering that, it was my understanding we get 2-minute intros? Or?
Yes. So right now we have the introductions. Ianad, you go first, and then we'll have Ianad, Demetrio, and Matthew in that order for your 2-minute introduction.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Ianad Burrell, and I am a 25-year resident of Richmond, California, and I am running for the West Contra Costa Unified School District Board Trustee for Area 4. With a combined 20 years of corporate experience in strategic development, fund management, executive leadership and training in equity, diversity, and inclusion facilitation, as well as paralegal support in litigation and IP and securities filing, my candidacy brings a different perspective grounded in real-world experience. As well, my personal educational journey, including my current dissertation studies, has impassioned my wants to ensure every student has an opportunity to be exposed to explore their gifts and talents in every way possible. I am running for this school board seat, because our children deserve representation that focuses on them, where every board action taken is through the student-centered lens. I am running because our students deserve a trustee like me who really believes that viewing education through an equity lens is the only way to truly transform the educational paradigm for Black, Latino, Indigenous, and people of color students in the district. I'm running because we need to guarantee our students not only have equitable access to a quality education, yet have equitable opportunities as well, including the professional development of all our staff, stakeholders, and every voice is constantly heard. Top priorities: restore the public trust in the board by ordering a forensic audit of the district's financial reports. Number 2, work with the community and districts regarding creative funding in this shortage on the budget. Lastly, our schools need to be safe havens for every child. Many children don't feel the environment is safe right now, and that is absolutely something that will be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ianad. Next, we'll have Demetrio for your 2-minute summary, 2-minute introduction.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everybody watching. Thank you to the League and West Contra Costa for giving up your Saturday to listen to us. My name is Demetrio Gonzalez Hoy. My pronouns are he, him. I am a teacher in the West Contra Costa Unified School District, and I'm running for Area 4. I'm running because I deeply care about education in our district and advocating to give the tools students and educators need in order to succeed. This is deeply personal to me, as my family works for our schools. My wife is a second grade teacher, and my students who I've taught still attend them. I have been working and been involved in our schools for the last 8 years. I have participated in majority of the district committees. I have been involved in major projects and issues that have risen over the years, and have been attending majority of our school board meetings over the last 6 years. The last 4 years, I served as president of the Teachers Union and have been able to learn what goes inside of our schools, as well as the system failures that we need to work on. I've listened to educators and families, which is why I can tell you the successes and the areas for growth for many of our programs. Through that work, I have shown that I can build relationships with all stakeholders. I am proud of the many things we've done over the last few years, and I'm most proud of the work I've supported between negotiations of labor and the district, the resolutions and policies I've worked on directly, and the collaborative culture I've helped build. My campaign is a grassroots campaign supported by teachers, parents, and students. I'm being supported by California Superintendent Tony Thurman, Senator Nancy Skinner, Assemblymember Buffy Wicks, Supervisor John Joya, the California Democratic Party, our Young Democrats, United Teachers of Richmond, Teamsters 856, who represent classified staff, the Contra Costa Labor Council, elected officials from every district, Superintendent Lynn Mackey, the Richmond Progressive Alliance, and various current sitting school board members. I hope I can also count on your support. And please go to our website, demetriogonzalezhoy.com, to learn more about our campaign. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Demetrio. And now we'll hear from Matthew for his 2-minute introduction.
Good morning. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum, and thank you especially for making this forum accessible to our Spanish speaking.
What we did not specify as to which areas, which schools are in, so as listeners that do not know about 1, 2, 4, 5, they won't know what school they're in.
Okay. I'll start over, if I may. Shouldn't take me 2 minutes. Just very quickly, thank you again for hosting this forum, and thank you for making this forum accessible to our Spanish-speaking members of the community. A little about me. I'm a certificated elementary school teacher. I'm a former teacher, having formerly worked in an underserved and migrant populations in Salinas. I taught there for a number of years. currently, as I have been for the last, I guess it's been about 8 years now, I'm an environmental scientist, and I have a special interest in the Bay Area, climate change adaptation, and also equitable access to the coast and our natural resources. I have experience serving on multiple boards of directors over the past 20 years. I really enjoy this type of work, and I'm running for the board because I know personally, as a product of the educational system, but also as a former educator, the importance of a good education for our children. I couldn't have gotten where I am today doing the job I love to do for great pay and being able to own a home in the Bay Area without the benefit of a high quality education. It just would not be attainable. However, I'm troubled by the fact that so many of our students in this district seem to be underserved by the school district, where 70% of the schools perform below the state average of performance expectations. And I believe we owe our children a lot better than that. And I believe that I will be able to deliver more opportunities if I'm given a chance to serve on the board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I'm going to turn this forum over to the two league members, Cheryl and Myrtle, to ask questions. And Cheryl, you're the first to ask, okay? Cheryl Collier, first question.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I was muted. Okay, we're going to start with question 1, and it will be with candidate Anise. And the question is—
1 minute, Cheryl. Her name is Ianad.
Oh, Ianad. I apologize, and you're going to probably have to correct me again. I do have issues with names, but I do apologize. Ianad. Ianad.
That's it.
I don't know if I'll retain it or not. Okay, question 1. How will you address the budget issue?
Right now, we're looking at a huge gap in the budget. We're looking at a tremendous deficit. Currently, our budget right now is 80% on staff and only 20% on programs. That means 20% towards students. What is that about? We have to figure out, how do we get here? We can't just jump in and say, we're going to fix it. This is the one-liner. How did we get here? We need to have a bottoms-up approach when we think about the budget. We need a forensic audit, different from an audit. Forensic audit is every single line item has to be accounted for. We have to know where it came from. There needs to be a conversation with superintendent, our parents, our community. And let's talk about this partnership. What partnership? Technology partnership. OUSD just got $9 million from Salesforce. San Francisco Unified just got $9 million from Salesforce. WCCUSD needs to get $29 million from Salesforce. Who has that relationship? I do. I've had relationships in the tech industry for over 8 years. It's part of the work that I do. Ready to bring those conversations to the table. The money is there, but this budget will require creative yet accountable.
Thank you. Okay, our next candidate, Dimitri, the same question. How will you address the budget issue?
Yes, thank you. So I've been part of doing this work for the last 2 years since we found out about the deficit. It has been a really difficult work, but in order for us to fix this issue, we do need to understand how we got here. As I've been involved, I've been able to learn how we did get here. We understand that departments overspent from the budget that they were given. We understand that we're paying for programs with ongoing funding instead of one-time funding. We understand that we invested in way too much, way too quickly. I believe that we need to do 3 things. 1, we need to hold staff accountable so that departments and schools cannot go over what they're given. We need to rebuild trust and update our citizens transparency tool on our website, which gives monthly updates on where we are on the budget. We need to continue to update that to rebuild trust. And then we need to uphold our superintendent and staff to make sure that they follow the priorities that are given under the budget so that we don't spend on other programs and other things. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we come to Matthew. The same question. How will you address the budget issue?
So I agree with Ianad that we need a thorough accounting. We do need an audit. I would call it a top-down audit, but I deferred her terms, phraseology. The trouble with this budget is that I don't believe that we can afford to cut really anymore in terms of services to students. I really don't think it's a great idea to cut staff or to cut salaries. We're already, dealing with some of the lowest paid teachers in the state. So, I hate to say it, but I think that while it's a great idea to, take a look at what's been done already in terms of assessing how we've gotten here, I think that we need to continue spending at current levels until we have gotten a complete picture about what the problem areas are, where are the wastes, where are the inefficiencies, and try to avoid cuts to critical services. I think if we did that for maybe the next year or two, probably year, while we're getting wrapping our hands around where we are as a district budget-wise, I think that we'll be able to come stronger next year and with a plan about what to do about this budget issue. But I think it needs to float.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move forward to question number 2. And here I go again. Ianad, the question is, how will you address issues around equity?
Addressing equity is a national and an international conversation. It's going to require a whole lot. Let's drill it down to this district. This district has recognized that there are inequities. They recognize that. Just about a week ago, the superintendent posted the weekly Fridays that are going to be happening around addressing that. And my question was, what exactly are you doing? We need specificity. Who are the programs? Who are the speakers? What's being taught? Who's teaching it? Are we doing the root information? Are we going to the root? We can start high level. We know it exists. It needs to be fixed, but we got to talk about the root. To address it goes beyond conversation. It's implementation. Look at the programming. Look at access. Look at curriculum. Look at our teachers. Look at the diversity or non-diversity of our teachers. Look at all of those areas. Every single one has to be addressed specifically and individually, and it needs to end with an equitable lens. Thank you.
Thank you. So next we'll go to Dimitri for the same question. How will you address issues around equity?
Thank you. And it's Dimitri O with an O at the end, just FYI. Totally fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, of course. This is a great question. I have seen inequity in our system from the day I started teaching. I saw it in the way that we supported our students. I saw it in the way that we provided the tools and provided, the needs for every single one of our schools. For a long time, our school district has provided blanket supports where every school gets the same PD, every school gets the same resources. And we cannot continue to do that. Every school is different. Every school has different needs. And I can tell you the school that I worked at, which is a flatland school, needed a lot more supports than many others that might sit in different areas of the community. We need to look deep. We need to listen to our educators. We need to listen to our staff, our families, and the students themselves to understand what they need. I completely agree that there's been a lack of supports and a lack of an equity lens into the decisions that we make. We have to do better. Our African American and English language learner students are falling through the cracks because adults in our system are not making the right decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go next to Matthew. And the question is,
how will you address issues around equity?
Thank you.
So 90% of our student body come from communities of color. I believe it's a full third come from households where English isn't the language spoken at home or the primary language. So for me, I think that we need to start there. I feel like language access is a huge issue, not just for this school district, but for all public services. I don't think that we have a tradition in this country, sadly not in this state either, of giving honoring language as a driver for the way people connect with their governments and their communities and so forth. And I feel that people who speak different languages are often ignored and their needs are not met. So that's where I would start. I feel like that's low-hanging fruit. However, in the classroom, there needs to be a push for more cultural humility. Sadly, students are judged by their teachers all too often by the, accents or by the color of their skin or their type of hair or whatnot. And their differences are not honored, even though, to look at it, you would think that, when you celebrate something like Cinco de Mayo, oh, hey, they're doing a great job. It's not. When it comes down to results, the numbers speak for themselves. Our students of color are performing less well than their white counterparts, and that's just a fact. So there needs to be training for teachers and staff in cultural humility, not just training, but also continuing education credits. We need to recruit teachers of color. That means we need to provide them with better pay than what they're getting to make it attractive. But we also cannot overlook the importance of getting the parents and the larger community involved. And that means we need to do a much better job of outreaching. That means we need to provide initiatives that actively seek out participation from the parents and the communities of these communities of color, these non-English speaking communities. And we need to provide them with the resources that befit their language and their abilities.
Okay, thank you.
Cheryl, I'm sorry. I'm stepping in for a minute. This is Linda Whitmore, moderator. I have to ask all of the candidates to stick to the 1 minute time for your answers. A few of you are doing it, but everybody's not doing it. So please, we have to respect the 1 minute time for your answers. Thank you.
Linda?
Yes.
The clock was not moving on Matthew. Not on my end.
Okay, I'll talk to Robert about it. So I apologize if I made a mistake, but I was watching the clock and I thought he had went over. So we'll get that straightened out.
Okay, it started moving again, but okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So here I go again with question 3, and we'll start off again with Ianat. What do you feel have been the issues around distance learning?
One of the things I absolutely know, have lived, have seen, is that learning is not monolithic. And the way we learn is not monolithic. Mm-hmm. Distance learning has brought us to a point to challenge not only how equitable and accessible our education is, but it has widened and raised the shade of what many of us have known for years. Distance learning has to be approached in a very innovative, 21st century thinking way. What does that mean? No, a Chromebook doesn't solve it just because it's in the household. What does that mean? Our disabled students cannot just open up and all of a sudden asynchronized programming is okay. Distance learning has allowed an opportunity, while it's painful, has allowed an opportunity for us to really figure out, are you really serving students and student-centered? Is there equity in education? We have to figure it out and do it fast, because in the meantime, who's losing out are the students. Every second they're losing out. Their fundamental right is being taken away. We've got to fix it.
Thank you. Okay, same question for Demetrio. What do you feel have been the issues around distance learning?
Yeah, thank you. I think that there's a lot of issues with online learning as we have transitioned. Obviously, in the spring, we had crisis learning, which had even more issues. And thankfully, we were able to learn from those few months in order to make our program stronger. Accessibility is what keeps me up at night. 2 board meetings ago, the superintendent mentioned how 700 to 1,000 kids at the time had not logged in to learn. To me, it's so critical to find out what's going on with those families, what's going on with those students, how can we support them? I believe that apart from that, the accessibility, we have over 1,000 students who are foster youth or homeless. How are we supporting those students to have internet, to have accessibility to a computer, to have accessibility to a safe space? I am really proud of the work that the district has done with nutrition, but we also need to do better on that. right? How are they supporting families and picking up lunches, picking up supper, breakfast for kids that need that the most? And also the support of our educators and all the work that they're currently doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will move to Matthew. The same question. What do you feel has been the issue around distance learning?
I feel that the issue, well, the biggest concern is, of course, screen time that students get, in front of their computers, provided they have computers. But I'll get to that in a moment. I don't think that I don't think that distance learning necessarily has to be the exact same experience as being in a classroom, for 6 hours a day. But I believe that that the screen time that the student does have needs to be that much more enriching. And my concern is that that while there are many students who and who have parents and families who are on top of it, getting things done, I think that there needs to be much more monitoring and enforcement to catch those who are falling through the cracks and to provide them the support they need.
Sure. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, Cheryl, I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop you one more time. Could you please try to alternate who's starting the question, answering the questions? You've been doing Ian not first for the last 3 or 4, so let's mix it up a little bit, okay? Let's give her a break and let her go first all the time.
I'll be happy to do so.
Thank you.
So we're at question 4. And I'm going to start with Demetrio. What is your position regarding campus security?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So, I stood with our students in support of removal of security resource officers from our schools a couple months ago. I stood with them because we kept hearing from students that even though it created this sense of safety for adults, it didn't create a sense of safety for students. So I stood with them at the board meeting and advocated that we use those resources and the funding to support our African American students and the ASAT resolution that we passed. I believe, though, that we also need to figure out what are the tools that our sites need to support our students. Why were we using SROs in the first place? A lot of adults were using them as disciplinary tools. And the reality is that was not the right way of dealing with those situations. But educators and principals and staff need other tools such as restorative justice supports. We need to fund our health centers more, like Healthy Richmond has asked the board to do. And we need to dig deep and understand what educators and students need. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move to Matthew. And the same question is being posed. What is your position regarding campus security?
I support the need for campus security. In my estimation, the dangers that our parents are concerned about, but also that honestly face our children, will not have gone away once we return to campus. And we simply do need security there. But I do agree that just like we're having a larger conversation in the country, we need to take a look at our approach and make sure that, just as we're talking about defunding the police, meaning to reallocate resources and provide better supports as opposed to strictly a police style model, we need to incorporate that into our campus security plan. And I think that this is an opportunity for us to rethink that while students are out.
Thank you. Okay, we will move to Ianad. Same question. What is your position regarding campus security?
Campus security is so overhaul. When I mean that, overall. That monolithic view of the SROs, while yes, I also supported that removal, but it was the and that was missing. Removal and There's mental security that needs to be addressed. There's food security that needs to be addressed. There's social emotional learning that needs to be addressed. So in speaking to students, because we can't do this just from my seat, I am not at the service of my feelings. I'm not at the service of what I think. I am at the service of the students and making sure everything that I do is student-centered. Tell me, what does reimagining safety looks like for you? And what they said was, I need help emotionally, psychologically, mentally. I don't have food. I'm afraid, all of those things. So it is so more holistic. And how do we remember that in every single thing we do? When the district reported the 750 students that didn't log in from March to June or July, we didn't hear about it till July. That's not safety.
Thank you. So we'll move to question 5, and I'll start with Matthew. What should be the new priorities for the Measure R funding regarding our facilities master plan? Matthew?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
What should be the new priorities for facility funding regarding Measure R funding?
Yes.
In the master plan? I mean, I suppose, I'm not sure exactly how to take that question, but I suppose in the context of where we are today, it would be investing in, if we're going to have to return to school before a vaccine, say, investing in making schools a safer place to be. That would involve infrastructure, new structures, etc. And I would like to see that funding, however, go to technology and access to remote learning opportunities.
Okay, thank you. So we will move to Ianad. The same question. What should be the new priorities for Measure R funding regarding our facilities master plan?
Thank you for asking. Prioritization has to be done through an equity lens, period. And I will use equity ad nauseum because it's a part of every day. It needs to be a part of every day, everything we do and think. I've heard from parents who have voiced the fear of potentially being in trailers for another 5 to 10 years. We have the CBOC that allocates the funding and the priorities. We have to be at the table there as well. When you think about Area 4, Valley View, Olinda, Sheldon, Murphy, Highland, Terra Hills, I'm looking at the trajectory of the attention paid in that district, in that area. What does that look like? The prioritization comes from, first and foremost, equity. From an equity lens, what are the resources that are at these current locations that are missing? Or what has been missing? So the prioritization, and let's think about this. In this pandemic, you have to look at that even more differently. What will these schools look like to be prepared potentially for a disaster in the future? Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move to Demetrio. Same question. What should be the new priorities for Measure R funding regarding our facilities master plan? Thank you.
Thank you. So I was the chair of the committee that passed Measure R in the spring. Throughout the whole campaign, what we promised voters was going to be that we were going to be transparent, that we were going to hold the district accountable. The CBOC doesn't set out priorities. They ensure we hold accountability to the funds. And now that we're revisiting the facilities master plan, we do have to do with equity. We have to do with transparency. We have to do with inclusion of all stakeholders. I can tell you that my priority will be looking at it through equity as well. We've rebuilt majority of our high schools. The only 2 high schools that are left that we haven't rebuilt have the highest students of need, Richmond High School and Kennedy High School. I 100% support rebuilding Kennedy High and Richmond High. I 100% support of rebuilding our highest need schools. And we need to do that with inclusion of all voices, not the loudest, but inclusion of all voices in every part of our community. And we need to do it well. So I support the current process of looking at facilities master plan. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to move to question number 6, and we'll start with Matthew. What programs or resources do you think the district can put in place to handle social emotional learning? Matthew?
Yes, sorry, I'm unmuting. What programs for resources do you think that the district could put in place to handle social emotional learning? This is, for me, the question about equity, and I've addressed it before. I believe that in order to get to equity, we need to rethink just across the board how we're dealing with children of, households and disadvantaged backgrounds. So again, language access, support for our teachers and our staff and training, but also when it comes to services for students, we need to get counselors back in the schools. We need to get resources for our disadvantaged students. Our disabled students. We need to build those up more robustly than they are, and they've been funded in the past. And I'm running out of time.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move to Demetrio. Same question. What programs or resources do you think the district can put in place to handle social emotional learning?
Thank you. So first of all, I think that we need to fully implement our positive climate resolution that we passed a little bit over a year ago. We need to fully support the work that LaShanta Smith and Millie Burns are doing throughout the district in implementing restorative justice practices and training our staff. We absolutely need to support our health centers to continue to provide services to our students. And, we need to invest in nurses. We have 10 nurses for 30,000 students. We need to invest in counselors. Our counselors have 700 students they have to see. That's not enough. They can't do their work like that. And of course, we have to invest in resources like school psychologists, speech pathologists, SPED supports. And also more importantly, we have to ensure we're listening to our students, we're listening to our kids, and we're listening to our staff for what they need, not what we think the schools need, but what they think they need. Our school administrators as well. They know what's going on every day in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will move to Ianad, and it's the same question. What programs or resources do you think the district can put in place to handle social emotional learning?
To speak first to the resource, back in the fall of last year, I shared with the district that the Mental Health Services Act budget for students had a grant out, and it was a grant for health clinics within the district. I sent it to the district. Crickets, never heard back. I even said, I'll help you write it because I have over 15 years of grant writing experience, fund development with nonprofits, still nothing. Ended up going somewhere else, huge missed opportunity. If we're not listening, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not licensed in that area, but I know our district has a number of them who are. What are they saying about the social emotional program that needs to happen? Conversations with those experts that we need to have, and I need to know, educate me, enlighten me. I have to be poured into with the intel in this area while I know broadly what it will take. When it comes to specificity, I need to talk to the experts, and those students will teach us what we would never learn in a book or a classroom. Hoping that, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Mrs. Braxton?
Thank you. I'm going to start with question number 7. And my first person that I'm speaking to will be Dimitri. How should the district address the issue of co-locations with charter schools?
Thank you, Ms. Braxton, for the question. So co-locations, we have 3 schools that are co-located right now. We have Caliber Charter School co-located in Kennedy High School. We have a charter school co-located with Sinnell Middle and one with Crespi Middle School in Area 4. This is creating a lot of challenges. As charter schools grow, they take more space from our public schools. This is creating and impacting our own students, impacting our own educators. For example, at Crespi, they had to give up their science building. They had to give up more and more classrooms. They tried to work with the charter school, and it wasn't successful. We have to honestly listen to them. I am not in favor of co-locations because it creates a haves and have-nots system. But if we are forced because of law, then we have to find ways of having them work together to find a solution, not just charter taking space, but actually sitting down and listening to one another on, okay, what does each school need? Thank you.
Thank you. Same question to Matthew. How should the district address the issue of co-locations with charter schools?
So I start with the, I guess, the premise that co-location of charter schools on public schools is a fact of life. And so given that, I think that we need to look for opportunities that enable enrichment for the students of both schools. So I'm thinking collaborations among the staff and teachers to design curriculums that the students can work on together, maybe cross-pollination of methods, and even taking classes between, so that students attending one school can take classes with another, and so on and so forth. I think that, you know, if it's a fact of life, and if there's two schools, I mean, they just need to work together and work closely. And I think that if they can come together, they can design a way to make a very positive impact in the students and make it a great place to learn for everybody.
Thank you. Same question to E&I. How should the district address the issue of co-locations with charter schools?
We are here. The collaboration has happened. The coexisting has happened. Now what? How can we help? How can we figure it out? I have to tell you, when you talk about students and having an opportunity to have a wider access, how can we elevate that? Yes, it is taken away from our budget. That's not a good thing. Yes, it has some controls that are not as high as our schools that have to support. We know that. Yes, we may have said, no, this is not a good thing, but during state law, they have allowed it to happen. Now that we're here, now what? How can I make this work to our good of the students? Let's talk about the parents. Why are you sending your child to the charter school? Why did you choose that? Let's talk and figure that out from them. Students, what do you see some things over there that you like? Do you see some programs that you think you may want? Let's talk about that. Let's listen. But now that we're here, how can we figure out to make it work to our good? And I see a lot of potential opportunities, but we have to be open to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will be to E&I. How will you address the digital divide in our district?
The digital divide is a national and international conversation. For the district, it's a chasm. I call it a chasm. It's beyond a divide. One of the things I know the district has on their website is this collaboration partnership with Sprint and the district to give everyone a hotspot. That's not fixing, and I'm not saying the district is not attempting to fix the divide, but that's not fixing the digital divide. The divide goes beyond access to the internet. The divide goes beyond having a hotspot. Think about having a hotspot when you live in a home with maybe 6 or 7 other siblings or cousins or whomever, and they're all diving in and connecting to that hotspot all at one time. You're going to get this circle. You know, the circle just keeps going, and it never connects. That divide is way beyond connectivity. Equity is going to go back to equity. We're talking about territories. Certain areas need much more access than just a hotspot. That digital divide will require back to tech partnerships, other conversations, bringing in funds that are innovative, that are new, and that are going to work. Thanks.
Thank you. Same question to Demetria. How will you address the digital divide in our district?
Thank you. So I agree. I think that the digital divide is larger than just our district. I believe it is a state and nationwide issue. We do need, obviously, to advocate that with the state and the federal government to get more resources and supports there. In my opinion, internet should be free to everybody, but obviously we cannot control that. So what we can control, we got over $30 million in CARES Act from the federal government to support online learning. We need to leverage that fund. We need to learn from what other districts are doing. Some districts are buying vans in order to drive around their district and provide supports to students and families who don't have access, might not have a hotspot, who might not have a computer, who might not have a safe place to be, and support them in finding the resources they need to be able to go to school in an online way. We need to branch out and do that a little bit more. I think our communications and community engagement team are doing a really great job at trying to do that, but we need to do more, and we need to leverage those funds that we got in order to support our students. Every dollar should be spent on our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question for Matthew. How will you address the digital divide in our district?
Right. So, like all of my fellow candidates, you of course recognize that it's it's a much larger issue than we can really hope to address fully. But that said, I believe that there are things that we can do as a district. I think that what we need to do, again, given the current context of how we're educating our children these days, we need to make this a top priority, if not the absolute top priority. We need to dedicate resources to providing all of our students with all the equipment they need to learn from remotely. If they don't have access to internet, we need to provide that access to them at our own expense if we need to. And I know this gets to budgets and everything else, but there's just no other choice. It's got to be done. So I guess what I would say is I would address it by trying to stop the bleeding and not try to make it worse during this time. And that's going to take a lot of attention and resources that we probably don't have to spare, but we have to do it.
Thank you. The next question is also for you, Matthew. What is your position regarding approving more charter schools in our district?
I maintain that at their best, charter schools are meant to be these hubs of innovation for trying out new techniques for educating our children. What makes an effective curriculum? And so I maintain that I'm open to a new charter school if it can meet the standards that the board sets. And these standards need to be rigorous. They need to be thoroughly vetted. And I would actually probably want to create a committee of school teachers and administrators to evaluate these proposals for a new charter school and get their take on it as part of the approval process. But yeah, if you have a great idea and you want to try it out and you have the consent of parents to do it, I'm open to it. I would, and ideally I would support it if I thought it was the best way.
Thank you. Ian, same question. What is your position regarding approving more charter schools in our district?
I am in support of a moratorium on charter schools in our district. Not only, as we know, does it affect the budget, let's take care of who we have right now. And going back to the Measure R and the funding and the prioritization, and schools like Richmond High and Kennedy High that need the highest prioritization right now. Bringing in more without even taking care of who we have right now, a moratorium is where I sit on in terms of charter schools, which has nothing to do with their impact on education or the students. We got to take care of who we have right now. We have to make sure who we have right now are kept at the forefront. We have to make sure that equity is a part of every conversation. And we already know those schools that have been suffering already and are just waiting in line. Shouldn't have been a long line already, but they're still waiting to be served. That's where I stand on that question. Thank you.
Thank you. Demetria, the same question. What is your position regarding approving more charter schools in our district?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So I would not support the expansion or any new charter schools in our district. Why? Because I helped co-write the charter school moratorium resolution that our board passed in 2019. Why? Because I saw the impact of charter schools opening up the hill from my own public school that I was a teacher at. I saw how they did not take our special education students, they did not take our African-American students, they did not take our English language learner students or newcomer students, which technically should be against the law, but that's just simply not the case. We have 14 charter schools in our district. 2 of them do a really good job at having students that look and have the same demographics as our schools, RCP and LPS, but they're outliers. The charter schools that we see coming into our district now, like Rocket Ship and many others, are here to privatize education, and that hurts our own public schools. Now, at the same time, I would never blame a parent from finding a better educational system for their student, but that's why we have to make our schools better. We have to listen to families and parents and what they need. Thank you.
Thank you. This is our last question, and we're going to start with, when I get it in order, we're going to start with you again, Demetria. This is going to be a long question, so you have to really listen. The West County Mandarin School serves students from across the district. The school has outgrown its current site at the Sierra campus in Richmond and is slated to move to the temporary portable campus at Portola in El Cerrito. Families have requested that we move instead to the abandoned Adams School, which is blocks away from Sierra, and put portables there. Would you support the financial investment to have the school move to Adams? Why or why not?
Thank you. So I just want to start by saying I 100% support our Mandarin bilingual school. I did not support their move to Adams for a couple of reasons. One, Adams we deemed was not safe for a charter school to go there. So why should one of our public schools go to that same place if it's unsafe for any student? Also, moving the school to Adams would have taken a lot of money from our bonds program that right now is slated for other schools. There are schools that have been waiting for over 20 years to be rebuilt by bond funds. So I did not feel it was fair to move up a school that is fairly new. Now I would work with the families and staff of the Mandarin school to give them what they need to be successful at Portola. But I wouldn't have supported their move to Adams. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question to Matthew. The West County Mandarin School serves students from across the district. The school has outgrown its current site at the Sierra campus in Richmond and is slated to move to the temporary portable campus at Portola in El Cerrito. Families have requested that we move instead to the abandoned Adams, which is blocks away from Sierra, and put portables there. Would you support the financial investment to have the school move to Adams? Why or why not?
So I'm going to caveat my answer on a few assumptions. One, that if it's a majority of families who partake in the current school are calling for the move to Adams, then that would give me reason to consider this very closely. And given that, I think that we do need to look at when we're making these types of decisions, we need to look at what the community wants, how to best serve. Would it affect the students and the families negatively to go all the way to El Cerrito when they could be put closer? I am, in general, a great supporter of local schools, being able to walk to and from school. It sounds like a good idea, but I simply don't know from the question whether or not. But I mean, judging based on simply what the question asked, would I support it? I would support looking into it very carefully, and if possible, I would support moving to Adams.
The final person would be E&I, and it's the same question. The West County Mandarin Schools serves students from across the district. The school has outgrown its current site at the Sierra campus in Richmond and is slated to move to the temporary portable campus at Portola in El Cerrito. Families have requested that we move instead to the abandoned Adams, which is blocks away from Sierra, and put portables there. Would you support the financial investment to have the school move to Adams? Why or why not?
I absolutely appreciate each and every time a parent is involved in the education of their students, especially at all levels, location and everything. When it comes to this particular move, I'm thinking environmental. This location that they're suggesting or would like to move to is on a fault line. And we all know under AB 617 right now, Richmond was one of the 10, I believe, cities in the state to be part of the study around air quality. And that's affecting children, students, parents, all of us. So I'm looking at the environmental impact. That means health and everything that follows along that. Budget-wise, of course, we don't have that right now at all. And to prioritize based on safety, education, and definitely including all the voices, I would not support the move. I want these children to be safely learning. I want them to be healthy learning. Definitely want to make sure that the location where we do decide is going to be befitting as well. Thank you.
Thank you all for your participation. I now turn you back to Linda for your wrap up.
Thank you. I'd like to also thank our three candidates, Ina Burrell, Demetrio Gonzalez-Hoy, and Matthew Trujillo. You guys did a fantastic job. I'm going to remind our attendees that they have a decision to make on November 3rd. It's going to be a hard one to decide on. You will vote on the another first, which we talked about, which will be to elect the first West Contra Costa Unified School District Board of Trustee for Area 4. Okay, so again, thank you, three of you, for spending your time with us and sharing all your ideas. I also want to thank our two league representatives, Cheryl Collier and Myrtle Braxton. And I've asked you to get ready for our last forum, which is going to be in a few minutes for Area 5. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Okay, so we're going to move over to Area 5. And again, thank you, everybody.
Linda, do they do a summary?
Oh, that's okay, I've made 3 mistakes now. No more this forum, okay? 3, you're out, right?
No,
okay.
You're with me on errors.
Okay, so Cheryl, why don't you decide who's going to do the wrap up, and then we'll move on to Area 5. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll start with Matthew. You have a wrap up, a 2-minute wrap up, I believe.
Yes. Hopefully less than that. So first of all, again, thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this panel. It's been a great time. And again, thank you for making it accessible to non-English speakers, Spanish speakers specifically. I just want to recap that the reason I'm running for this seat on the board is that I'm deeply concerned about the shortcomings of the district. In a district where 90% of the students come from communities of color, I don't think that we can be satisfied with the fact that 70% of our schools are underperforming. And that in the year 2020, the district remains a highly segregated district along racial and socioeconomic status lines, and that even issues such as equitable access remain a distant long-term goal. I believe that I can create positive change to address these issues. I am a very well-rounded individual. I have a broad background. I'm a trained scientist and a trained social scientist. I've lived many lives, had many careers, but that's all to accrue to the benefit of the voters if they were to elect me, because I'm an experienced board member, an experienced project manager. I take a rational approach to every question and every problem. Every problem has a solution, and every solution I believe can be solved in an amicable manner that benefits all sides, if not pleases all sides. But also in me, you have a success story. My background is no different than that of the 90% of students that we serve. And that makes me a role model. And I take that responsibility as a role model very seriously. And I think that attitude is essential in a good board member. So if you want to know more about me, please visit trujilloforschoolboard.com. You can look at my positions. You can contact me and support me. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move to Ianad for your 2-minute wrap up, please.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. Thank you for your patience. You guys have been rock stars throughout this entire process. I love education, which is why I went ahead and said I'm going to go to a doctoral program. I specifically chose for my dissertation the intersection or non-intersection of technologies within communities of color with barriers to resources for mental health. I chose that dissertation topic over 4 years ago, having no idea we would be sitting in this right now. Our students are not the future of tomorrow. They are here and now. It would be my complete honor to serve as a trustee and share my time, my talent, and my treasure serving our students. I have become uncomfortable being comfortable. What do I mean by that? It has been uncomfortable for me to continually watch the academic learning and achievement gap, our Black and Brown students not being prioritized, equity and equality and diversity and inclusion not being at the forefront, has made me completely uncomfortable over the years. Living in Richmond for 25 years, serving on the Healthy Richmond Communications co-chair for the past couple of years, serving on the CPOC committee with the county, which is under the Behavioral Health Services, doing all of that, serving as a commissioner for the past 8 years for the Arts and Culture Commission of Contra Costa County. All of those things pouring into kind of at a distance. I'm ready and prepared to be closer to the fire. This allows more impact of all the work that I've done over the years, of all the things that I know will student-centered lens and allow this district to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we will go to Demetrio.
Thank you. I just want to start also by thanking the League, Ms. Braxton, Ms. Collier, Ms. Jackson. Thank you for helping us throughout this whole forum and everybody watching. Education also changed my life. I am a product of public schools. When I first moved to the United States when I was 14 years old from Mexico, my school district was not equipped to support me. I did not speak English and they put me into a special ed class. And it was because of teachers who took me up on their wing and decided to teach me English on their own time after school that I was able to succeed through high school and ultimately through college. When I became a teacher, I started to see the same systemic failures that I experienced as a student with my own kids that I taught here in West Contra Costa. And that led me into this advocacy. I'm being supported by so many folks, teachers, classified staff, Democrats, California Superintendent of Schools, because I've built the relationships and I've been putting the time and the sweat and the tears into making our schools better for the last 8 years. I have been involved, as I mentioned, in many different things as union president, as advocate, because I deeply care about students. I'm not doing this for any other reason except for supporting the kids that I've taught, the kids that everybody of my colleagues teaches, the kids my wife teaches, and to break those inequities that I see in the system every day. I hope that I can count on people's support. My website is demetriogonzalezhoy.com. And just super quickly, some of our priorities that we have developed together in collaboration is the prioritization of African-American students and English language learners, closing the academic and equity gap, stop the constant turnover of staff and teachers that only hurt our flatland schools the most. And of course, the reinvesting in trust and inclusion of all of our stakeholders. So thank you again for watching and thank you to the League.
Thank you. Linda?
Okay, think I got it right this time. So I apologize again for the rushing at the end. But I again want to thank Ianab Burrell, Demetrio Gonzalez Hoy, and Matthew Trujillo. You guys, all three did a great job, and I